Okay, let's dive right in. We all write for work, right? Emails, reports, proposals. It's a huge part of the job. But how often do we actually stop and think about how effective that writing is? Today, we're going to talk about how to transform your writing from just another task into a real professional superpower. And, the stakes are probably higher than you think. This isn't just about avoiding a few typos. Poor writing is genuinely bad for business. It wastes time, it creates confusion, and it can seriously damage your credibility. The cost of being misunderstood, it is very, very real. So that's the big question, isn't it? How do we go from writing that just gets by to writing that actually gets results? How do you craft messages that aren't just read, but are understood, trusted, and most importantly, acted upon? So here's how we're going to break it all down. We're going to look at 10 key principles, and we've grouped them into 3 core pillars. First, we'll talk about how to build a clear map for your reader. Second, we'll focus on how to write to express your ideas, not just to impress people. And third, we'll cover how to project confidence. Then we'll wrap it all up with a super practical pre-send checklist you can start using right away. All right, let's get into our first pillar, building a reader's map. This is all about the foundation of your document. Its structure and its purpose. If you get this right, your reader is on your side from the very beginning. I love this analogy. Think of your structure as a literal map for your reader. If you hand someone a messy, confusing map, what happens? They get lost, they get frustrated. It's exactly the same with your writing. A confusing structure leads to a confusing message, and that erodes trust before they've even finished the first page. And that brings us to our very first principle. Organize your thoughts. A logical flow, just like the one you see here, moving from your purpose to your analysis and then to your recommendation, is incredibly persuasive. Why? Because it lets the reader follow your thinking without any effort. It just makes sense. And speaking of being direct, that's key number 3. State your main aim right at the start. Please, don't make your reader guess why they're reading your document. A simple sentence right at the top, something like, "This paper recommends option B," sets the stage perfectly. It lets them focus on your argument, not on solving a mystery. A huge part of projecting that credibility comes down to how you guide the reader's eye, which brings us to key number 8. Use headings that actually tell a story. Look at this comparison. Cost implications is so vague, but costs will increase by 8%. That delivers the conclusion. Busy people scan headings first, so make sure yours tell the whole story on their own. Okay, let's move on to our second pillar. Write to express, not impress. Now that you've got a solid structure in place, the focus shifts to the words themselves. The goal here is pretty simple: maximum clarity with minimum friction. So once your thoughts are organized, key number 2 is all about the words you pick. Cut out all those unnecessary words. Just look at the difference here. The wordy version is full of fluff and hot air. The direct version, it's confident and you understand it in half the time. Your goal is not to sound smart, it's to be understood quickly. And that really gets to the core philosophy of this whole section, which we'll call key number 7. Always prioritize clarity over cleverness. This quote says it all, doesn't it? When you write clearly, you build trust. But when you try to sound overly complex, you can actually make your reader a little suspicious. The goal is always to be understood. Now, this idea of being brief goes beyond just your sentences. And that leads us to key number 4. Keep your paragraphs short. The data on this is really compelling, especially for stuff we read on a screen. A short 4-line paragraph, it'll probably get read. But a huge, dense block of text, that's just an open invitation for your reader to skim or skip it entirely. Another way to be clear is to make complex ideas relatable. And that's the whole point of key number 6. Use concrete examples. Abstract theories can be really hard to grasp, but if you give your reader something to picture, like comparing a process to a funnel or a roadmap, you turn this fuzzy concept into something they can actually see and remember. Okay, we're on to our third and final pillar, project confidence and credibility. You've built the map, you've crafted a clear message, now it's time for the finish. All those little details that signal professionalism and make your writing feel decisive. A really powerful way to get that clarity is with key number 5. Use the active voice. Just notice the difference in tone on this slide. The passive sentence, "the review will be completed," it's kind of weak, right? It's not clear who's actually responsible. The active version, "we will complete the review," takes ownership. It sounds accountable, decisive, and a whole lot more confident. And it goes beyond just strong headings. Key number 9 is all about improving the visual clarity of your document. You know that feeling when you open an email and it's just a giant wall of text? Your eyes just glaze over. By breaking up the page with short paragraphs, bullet points, and plenty of white space, you make the information feel so much more manageable and way easier to digest. And our final principle, key number 10, really underpins everything else. Be professional. This is absolutely crucial. A single spelling mistake or a missed deadline can destroy all of your hard work. Readers judge the writer before they ever judge the message, and your professionalism is a non-negotiable signal of your credibility. So there you have it, the 10 keys across our 3 pillars. Now let's pull all of this together into a super practical tool you can use every single time you write. Think of this as your personal quality control. Before that email or report goes anywhere, just take 30 seconds to run through this mental checklist. It's that final step to make sure your writing is ready to make the impact you really want it to. Here it is, nice and simple. First, purpose. Is your main point right there at the beginning? Second, clarity. Did you write this to be understood, not just to impress? Third, tone. Does it sound active and confident? And finally, accuracy. Is it completely error-free and ready to go on time? If you can say yes to all of these, you are in great shape. And that brings us right back to the ultimate goal. Because that's what this is all about. It's not just about writing better, it's about communicating more effectively. So the next time you sit down to write, just ask yourself, is this clear? Is it credible? And will it inspire someone to take action? If the answer is yes, you've succeeded.